watches Ymir play. He adds support. So I will predict that the start is. Please tell me you are on blue side. Nice, easy spectatableness. Your guess at the start should be basically Vanguard and either wards or multi-pots or single pots. The start is completely fine. The ratio is fine. What I like to do when I start, which I'm sure you've seen from the stream, which is not definitively correct, is to start 2 wards and like 4 multi-pots. But this spread is... Ymir looks weird with his reskin. Anyway. Wards basically just protects your ADC a little bit more in case he's not really top of the line. But these potions are more, basically more personal help. Because it doesn't go over cap of, you know, health or mana when you use a multi-pot, which happens sometimes. Vanguard, though, is a really good pick. I like that. You probably could have reset that to Alkwang just a little bit sooner. Tagging it exactly then is fine. Because otherwise you would not have had enough, you should hug this right away unless you're planning to do a sneak for the wave. Either strategy is really fine. But again, you're kind of taking damage when AMC could also be regenning at the same time. So you should have reset this to AMC just a little bit sooner. You would be like, I don't know, at like 630 health instead of 530, which doesn't seem like much, but it really is. And AMC would be pretty much capped in just a few seconds. AMC's build is pretty weird. I know it gets 150 man from this. That was a perfectly aimed 2, perfectly timed 3, and the perfect target to go on Artemis. That skill usage was absolutely perfect and could not be aimed in a better way. Not because of how it hit, but because of how the situation was. Potting there is really good. Also, having Vanguard in that case really saved you a lot of health and would have been way better than Watcher's Gift in this specific case. Hogging there can get extra value. It's very aggressive. You had your freeze up. You probably didn't have mana for it, actually. Yeah, you did not have mana for your freeze. You were like 2 off or something like that. Given that you didn't have mana for freeze, the wall was a bit early. You probably could have saved up mana to do it a little bit earlier, or chugged potions just slightly earlier, but that was still a fine line of play. You're basically just shrekking them completely. At this point in the game, this is not on you, but really more on your ADC. Given that the enemies are poked out so incredibly much from your early aggression, he could have just completely held the wave, and they would have been zoned or forced to take more poke from you, which would have given you guys so much immense value. So, honestly, he should not push this wave, and you guys would just completely shrek them, because they could not run closer to the wave than they currently are. Like, you just go on them, and then they can't react to it. So, I think you probably could have forced a hold on the wave here, and punished them immensely for taking that amount of poke early. You told him to freeze the lane, but he was like, kinda AFK? Yeah, that makes sense. People do that a lot of the time. Here is where, or not really yet, since you still have vision of the jungler in the solo lane, but if the jungler had rotated to your side of the map, there is pretty much where it would have been slightly risky for you guys to push up and where they could have gotten lane pressure for not having wards. But that being said, the double pot strategy is still really good a lot of the time for basically general purpose. You just have to be aware that there is no ward, and if you don't have vision of him like there, he could start being in the left lane. Basically, you can't dive them under tower. You should more or less just be checking for them in the jungle. Rotating to mids when you're not 5 is fine if you have push in the lane. So this is a really good rotate. You should probably call to go on Ra here. Your teammates were not in position. That's a fine call to simply just secure those. If Ra was like charging his ultimate, which I guess he didn't have, or a beam was about to hit, then you should hog that. You don't know where enough people are, so it's incredibly likely that they have not gotten rights, so you should probably get these creeps in mid and then go to rights right after. Pathing aggressively is fine since you have complete mid-camp control. You see that Mercury is still forced, so that he has no threat to you whatsoever. So this pathing is really, really good. Arachne Hog, that's fine. Really good freeze. Your team literally AFK'd, and I have nothing else to say. That being said, I think you could have probably hit the 2 if you anticipated movement ahead of time, though. Rank 1 freeze is really hard to hit your 2 off of sometimes. People move out of it, kind of. I honestly don't remember the exact situation, but it's not really worth going back for at the moment. Here, since your jungler is probably going to want to share it with mid, Alkwang's going to push. Who am I kidding? It's Urka Kulkin. But it is correct to rotate back to dual lane, not only because you can pressure Artemis, but because it's just more efficient to share in case Arachne decided to share with mid, which would have been efficient for him. So this rotation is fine. Really good wall. Maybe it could have been slightly to the left, but given that AMC is slightly out of range, it was worth not using the rest of your mana. Here you still have not backed yet, which is perfectly fine, but on your first back you should almost get blink pretty much guaranteed. Make sure you don't get zoned from the archers here. I think you might have... I didn't look at your experience, but that was really close to getting archers. Make sure you're in range every time. You could have tried to use mana on Hades, but if he was a good player, he would jump instantly, so deciding to not freeze him there was fine. That is a fine decision. Going mid here puts more pressure on the map, so I like that, especially since they're invading on right. If AMC backed, you kind of have to go left. That's fine. But what is a wrong call here is definitely doing the purple buff, because you're going to miss like 2 or 3 creeps in left lane. So it does secure the buff in time, but not sharing the wave experience and just having it go to complete waste is really, really not ideal. Yeah, you guys missed 3 creeps for doing that buff first. You could have just easily pushed the wave and then gotten the experience, and I have no idea what AMC's doing. You're just getting the experience, and AMC is, who knows? So you see that AMC's mid, so you decide to push, which is fine. He's just kind of doing his own thing. You should not rotate here because that'll be just too much missed experience, and AMC is, okie dokie. He's doing him. He's doing his thing. I really do like maxing your freeze pretty much in level with your 2. It's just pretty much stronger because the later the game goes, the more relevant CC is, but damage is also relevant at the same time. And since AMC is still mid for basically no reason, you still have to hold left waves, and he's missed so much experience and is pretty much gonna... He miraculously gets a kill. But here is where I would have rotated to mids, and... okay, you do. I don't know why I said that ahead of time, but... immediately after both sets of mids, you should back, because you can put so much pressure on the map from Blink. Pathing aggressively there is okay. You knew that Mercury was dead, so there's not really anything that you can do to punish you for it. But sometimes your team is like AFK and they won't follow up. You probably could have done your 2 there, because you missed 2 creeps there, and even though it's minor, just gets you a little bit less behind. I don't really know how Arachne's level 7. I haven't been watching closely, but that is the perfect back time. If you back in later, that would be bad. Selling potions here is really good because wards become more and more relevant. Ooh, do you decide to get Blink? Nice. So, yeah, Blink before boots is something that I really like to do, because not having Blink on your first back is really, really impactful. Just hurts you a bit too much, so you saw that you didn't have enough for Blink and sold your boots 1 for full refund, so that was a really good decision. You should probably turn on Mercury, because Mercury is so grossly overextended. I know Hades is such low health, but you're kind of pushing up a lot here. And I think you lost the guaranteed Mercury kill. Now, you do not have your freeze up anymore. You don't have your wall. That 2 was fine because Artemis kind of just walked into it, but I think you could have played that fight a lot better. I'll go back to the beginning of it to show you exactly what I think you could have done better. So first off here, I think there was an opportunity to blink from here to freeze to wall Hades here and go in afterwards, but that would have been really opportunistic, and I don't really expect anyone to do that. But right here, Mercury is like literally a step behind you with his dash down, and his ult not charged, and an Arachne here, and AMC right here. So collapsing on Mercury is just a really, really, really easy target here. There's nothing that he could have done to live there, 100%. Also, even though Hades is low, he's so far away that he's not a good target because... I mean, this is obvious since I just watched it, but Artemis can easily peel you both off with her ultimate, and yeah, like, Hades, like, chasing people down in fights that are low health, make the rest of your fight really, really, really poor. Then here you try to go in and peel with just, like, your 2 and stuff. That was a good 2, but it didn't hit because Artemis, like, AFK'd. Here you pretty much want to wall yourself. That was a missed wall opportunity behind yourself because you could have expected the Merc thing. Good freezing too. A bit of an optimistic ultimate. I don't think you guys can really get a kill out of this unless... Yeah. The ult was not really good because it made you take a lot of damage and had no kill potential and baited Arachne. Not really a bad ult, but not a good ult, I guess. But I think you actually misplayed there by going for Hades, and that cost your team basically the entire fight. Because if you're trying to kill a target that's already out of the fight, even if you get the kill, your team is going to be so lacking in the fight that it's not worth it. And I think it's pretty apparent that that happened there. Now, what you could actually have... I guess that was fine. I just don't like using 2 moves on back camps because of how stressed supports are for mana right now. Plus, if you're going to a fight, then sometimes your freeze isn't quite up in time. But that's only the case a very minor part of the time. But mana's such a huge issue for supports right now that I would try to be a little more, or rather a little less lenient with your mana usage. Akwang stayed. I think you actually missed those back creeps. You at least missed 1 or 2. Trying not to miss experience like that. Hades is so far behind though, because you kind of forced him out early game. It's actually okay to clear here, given that right harpies are up. But I don't think you get like any of those, or any but the melee of those creeps there. Pathing aggressively here is really bad because you have no eyes on Mercury and you have no vision whatsoever. So like Mercury could have been right there and he ulted you, and if he ulted you, you like would have died instantly. So I think this pathing is too aggressive given that your mid laner's not quite there yet and you have literally no vision whatsoever. Also, you did get wards, but you haven't placed them yet, so if you're trying to be aggressive, you kind of need to place wards ahead of time. Here's a free freeze on Ra. I'm going to say something about the aim of that freeze in a sec. There are a couple things about this that you could have done way better here. I don't know why you didn't do your 2 throughout this whole duration. Even if you stole the kill, which it wouldn't have if you did right away, it just guaranteed him not escaping. Okay, there was a lot that you could have done there. First off, the way you aim the freeze, you gave it a slight chance to miss because he could have like passed simply just to the side of you. So here, Ra walks right up to you, and you like have a ward, and you could have frozen like, not right now, but like right now would have been a better freeze. And you waited for him to like, if he walked up even like an inch, he would have dodged the freeze guaranteed. So if people are really close to you, you have to be really careful about the way you freeze him. And even though he probably won't expect it like that, and that's an okay move, like maybe like 70% of the time, you got to be careful about the times that it's not. And right after this auto attack should have been a 2 on Ra, and I know you kind of want to be mana conservative, but there's no reason to not 2 him. It's just way too much damage to give up. Not only because, I don't know, you just can't not 2 there. There's absolutely no reason for it. Alternatively, you could have waited for the Arachne stun to come out to 2 him, but also you like did your wall at it and 2 it. I don't know. There was just a lot better things that you could have done in that fight. That was a really good Arachne ult though. And then they stayed. Good. That was a really good freeze, and then your decision making to get out was really good because the fight's pretty much over. Going this path doesn't really play around Mercury, but honestly, even if he goes on you with an ultimate, you're still pretty likely to live if anyone on your team is there, so that pathing was fine. Woohoo! That Merc ult though. Yeah, just make sure you do your 2 out of your freeze, like, in the vast majority of cases. Also, I think he went that fight because he didn't really conserve mana earlier on doing things like the buffs. I really dislike freezing buffs on Ymir, just because it takes so much of your mana that it's not really worth it most of the time. I see value in it sometimes just because of clear time, but in this patch especially, even if you had Watcher's Gift, you go So... Oh, McCreeper said, I expected Arachne to do more damage. I didn't see she was only level 8. Regardless of how much damage she would do, your 2 should have come out there no matter what in that last fight. Just because the speed at which you kill someone is relevant to make sure that people don't come to the fight and kill you guys afterwards. So the faster you kill someone, the better. So AMC's being collapsed on. You need to head to him immediately, if only for a chance to get picks out of people here. So I probably would have went left there instead of mids. Either decision's pretty much fine though, but you really should try to beat it on fight time. That's a really good freeze. He's so overextended. You should wall immediately after. Perfect wall. You could have aimed your 2 a little bit better there, but really good ult timing. You played that really, really well except for the 2. Your skill timings were perfect there. Your wall position was perfect. The freeze time was perfect, and just try to expect people's position a little bit more out of your walls and stuff. AMC died on his own. You could not have saved him. He kind of just suicided. Now you should be immediately at Mercury. You should be pathing a little more directly and less strafing. Ooh, I would maybe like practice Ymir just a little bit more because you're kind of missing more a higher amount of 2s than you really should be. Now, you're solo laner. I mean, ADC is basically solo, but since your AMC's not here, you basically have to hold the wave alone. Poking Artemis would be fine here. Good. Wow, she actually beads from nothing, and that's a really good 2, not only because it pushes the wave, but it pokes out Artemis. Even though she can lifesteal a little bit of it up, every bit of poke is relevant, especially since she could just poke you back, so it's a good trade. And it was worth your mana to do that 100%. Plus free beads, I mean, on a super long cooldown. It's huge. Now, since the waves aren't meeting yet, this is fine if you do it really quickly. It's not fine if you guys do red first. Also, if they were at red, you should have shared that 100%. But if Hades didn't push this, like, I mean, Hades isn't really thinking here, but if he didn't push that, you guys would have lost like 3 creeps again. And you got to be kind of aware that if there's a wave in lane and there's a buff up, you should almost always go to the wave first. There are exceptions, but I would try to use that general rule for now. Also, rip Kakalkin's build. Ripperoni, pepperoni. Oh, I don't even need to watch that. Let's just watch this. So you decide to go to left lane again. You have ward for gold, that's fine. It's a bit low, because they can, like, look at the vision of this ward. If they actually just, like, maybe that one's close enough, but they could technically, like, pull it from here without you seeing them. And that happens a small majority of the time. I mean, small minority of the time, but it happens sometimes. So I would try to ward just a little bit further up on gold in case it's further down than you think and people can sneak gold that way. If you went to red, it was a 4-man share. It was still efficient to 4-man share. Just because, like, I don't know, don't want to give up experience. And your clear time on the purple is completely irrelevant. AMC, I was about to say, I have no idea where AMC is, but he's DC'd, so there's not really anything you can do here specifically except try to hold. Quintosh's abilities on Ymir are Hive, Bees, Honey, and Stinger, as you clearly see here. And those 3 melee creeps have a special move called Walk Through Ymir Wall for free. Now, you should probably have pushed up way more ahead of time on the Artemis. Now, a lot of the time, you're kind of like freezing, hoping that people won't react to it. For example, like Hades walked away from your freeze earlier. When you blink froze, Mercury did not get hit by it because it was slightly out of range. And there, you froze assuming that she wouldn't bore. But a lot of the time, you can just like wall first and get pretty much the same amount of value out of it. So, I would try to be more careful on your freezes and make sure that they'll hit. Because if a Ymir freeze misses, it's enough to turn an entire fight. Also, your team is really, 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 really dumb for doing that gold. You were and they called gold like right as your back finished. Maybe you could have stayed, but honestly, it's completely your team's fault for... They pinged you. They pinged you. It was your team's fault that they stole it. They just threw it away, and then you're typing furiously. I respect the typing play. I respect it. And in your build here, you go into Sovereignty, which is really the only option. What the heck is this positioning by Mercury? What the potato? I mean, you have no way of knowing he's there, because I think he walked this way, but... AMC's overextended. You need to be near AMC immediately. Like, immediately. He's so far overextended in left lane, even given that Merc wasn't there, he could have been, like, here or anywhere, basically. And you don't have vision on Baka. There are so many people that can be on AMC right now that you basically just need to babysit him, and not... It shows it while paused. It shows it while paused. Anyway, so you just need to be near AMC ahead of time. Like, you honestly should have already been there, but as soon as that Merc ult hits, you need to go back immediately, and you decide to go to mid instead. So, you need to peel for AMC. I think this qualifies as an AFK from the Mercury. He was literally AFK, so I guess it's okay to not be there, but you should have been there ahead of time, really. You should be aware of people who are overextended and try to basically babysit them. Like, I know AMC lived there, but he should have gotten Shrek'd. You should also be way ahead. Yeah, you are. You're 4K experience up, even though the gold's relatively tied. So you could probably make a plan Artemis here. Okay, given that didn't happen, you should just share the wave. And AMC pushes right before you get to the melees. Beautiful plays by AMC. This is why support's annoying. Anyway, back in here is not really too... Do you have enough for Sav? Yeah, I wouldn't have... I know you want words, but I wouldn't have back there until you finish Sav. It's just a huge pickup. Finishing Blink and getting words is fine, but the Sav aura is so good against Ra right now. And I guess Hades, not really. You could probably make a play on Artemis really soon, especially since you have Blink 3. You just want to get that cooldown rolling. I think your freeze is still up. Yep, really good freeze, really good 2. You should probably wall then ulti. Oh, AMC, please! You need to just body block for him right now. AMC's running away from you! Body blocks! Your AMC is so... Oh my god, you played that really well. But like, you were as soon as you hit your 2, which is perfect ability usage, you went to body block the AMC, and he keeps running away from you. But the first freeze that you did, if Artemis didn't bore, she still would have been out of the range of the freeze, so I would try to be way closer to people before freezing, and one way that you can guarantee that is just to wall ahead of time. It seems kind of weird since you can get more value out of it later if people are dumb and stay in range, but that was like the 4th freeze or so that should have really missed, given that you did it the way you did. So, I think I would try to be more careful. That was a really, really good freeze, good 2, and rip with Polynomicon. Wow. The damage is so real. But yeah, I would definitely just try to be more careful with your freezes and make sure people are absolutely guaranteed in range. And walling ahead before freeze is one of the ways to do that. But with Hades thing down, you could look to dive him. It's pretty much fine that you don't though. This is a much more conservative play. Banking on the fact that you get more value out of other stuff later. And Arachne not rotating whatsoever. But since Arachne's fighting here, you need to head to Arachne immediately, and your rotation is still a little bit delayed, just a bit. It's a good freeze, even if nobody's following up. Your 3 2 damage is too much. That wall's fine. You didn't need it necessarily, but that was fine. He just one-shot the dude. Okay, so Kakalkin's carrying this game completely. And that's game. Overall, well played. Your farming was pretty good. Make sure you go to the wave before doing a buff, because you kind of just miss free creeps for that. When you're leaving places, make sure you pick up the last few creeps in the wave. Make sure you're hitting your freezes. Sometimes it's questionable to like freeze them if they can be out of range, but just try to line it up a little bit more carefully. You bought Blink on your first back, which is really, really good. A lot of people do not do that. Otherwise, really well played. Your ability usage was good except for that one initiate on Ra. I'm not really sure what happened there, but the sequencing of your abilities and the position of your walls and your 2s and stuff like that was really good. One thing that I think maybe only happened twice that game is after you wall, basically you like aim directly at them, but you can aim in a situation to more or less cut them off completely, or at least make it a 50-50. So I don't know how to describe it really well. Maybe I can just show it in Paint real quick. Actually, I'm not going to do that. That'll look messy and embarrassing to my art skills, but yeah, that's about it.